6 sweet details from Burgess and Ruzek's wedding you may have missed in the finale. The moment Chicago PD fans have been waiting for too long finally happened during Season 12's finale. Kim Burgess, Marina Scorsietti, and Adam Ruzek, Patrick John Pfluger, finally got married. After a tumultuous romance, 3 engagements, a house, and an adoption, the couple are finally official. They tied the knot in a relaxed church ceremony, and of course their daughter Michaela, Ramona Edith Williams, and Adam Ruzek's father Bob, Jack Coleman, were standing by their sides. And thankfully, we've been promised that this happy ending will stick. It's really fun, showrunner Gwen Seguin says of the ceremony's production process. It felt like we were planning a real one. In classic PD fashion, the romantic scenes of the wedding were intercut with Chapman sitting in the pews, getting her heart broken by Voight, Jason Begg, but that didn't take away from the romance. We don't get to do stuff like this on our show very often, Seguin says. It felt very different. She continues, we wanted it to feel somewhat traditional, I think for Burgess, but also really low-key and easy and simple, and not stuffy. So that's really where all the conversations came out of. What would these 2 people actually want and actually do? Kevin had a very special job in the wedding. Standing up on the altar were the most important people in Kim and Adam's lives: Michaela, Bob, and Kevin Atwater, Leroy's Hawkins. Yes, Atwater was tasked with the incredibly special job of serving as Adam's best man, which shows just how close the intelligence team is when they're not running the streets of Chicago. In fact, the entire crew were in attendance at the nuptials. Voight with Chapman, Kiana Cook, Toya Turner, Dante Torres, Benjamin Levy Aguilar, and Trudy Platt, Amy Morton. Seguin explains, I think we really came at it from, what would these 2 people want? Like, real world, what would they want? And it felt like they would really want a day to celebrate, that they would want everybody there, that they would certainly want to do something that Michaela would remember. And I think it was probably really important for Ruzek to have his father there. The importance of the church venue. The traditional and humble location of Kim and Adam's ceremony was completely intentional. In our minds, that was like the church that he went to as a little boy in Canaryville, Seguin says. It felt like this would have been a neighborhood thing. Like they could have driven themselves to the wedding. Alongside Trudy at the wedding was her husband Randall Mouch Mulholland, Christian Stolt, who all One Chicago fans know as a series regular on Chicago Fire. Mouch made another PD appearance earlier this season during the action-packed crossover event, which saw Platt nearly lose her life. Thankfully, she made a full recovery and was able to help take down the villain of the season, Reed, in the finale. Kim's wedding dress was picked by fans. In the weeks leading up to the big day, Scorsietti had some fun with fans by including them in her wedding dress shopping for Burgess, allowing followers to weigh in on their favorite gown. We had a situation where the wedding was sort of on script thrown together, and they were allowing us to do a bridal gown, but they didn't want it to be too much. And yet I wanted it to be spectacular. One Chicago's costume designer, Susan Kaufman, told Swoon, "It's pretty easy on Marina, so we tried on, and we narrowed it down to 3 dresses. We stepped away, we came back, and tried those 3 on." Again, I know she was doing a lot of posting to let people choose which was funny to watch, and it started to sway her a little. They eventually settled on a simple and beautiful figure-flattering gown with a plunging neckline and mid-thigh slit, pairing it with a veil. In a wedding where we had to be kind of simple, it just gave it a little extra something. And we both immediately loved it, Kaufman said of she and Scorsietti. There was a back and forth regarding this detail of Adam's suit. While it was relatively easy for Kaufman and Pfluger, to choose Adam's wedding suit off of a rack of options. The tie, or lack of, was another story. The big question back and forth was tie, no tie, or bow tie, she explained to Swoon. We both really loved the no tie. And then when we brought it to the higher-ups, they were like, well, can you send a tie on the day? I'm not sure, but it was fine. He ended up going no tie. Kim and Adam's daughter, played by child actress Ramona Edith Williams, adorably served as her mother's maid of honor. Kaufman explained that since they wanted her look to be age-appropriate, perfecting Michaela's dress for the big day required a little extra touch of creativity. She's tween, so she's not really a little girl anymore, Kaufman said. She's almost a teenager. When you look at dresses while shopping, the little girl dresses, you just see very little girl, and the women's dresses are just too mature for her. I think I walked in Bloomingdale's, and I saw that dress, and I was like, my God, the butterflies. It's perfection. It was an adult dress, and we took it apart and remade it, and fit it to her so that she could wear. The Chicago PD finale gave fans the long-awaited moment they've been dreaming about for years. Kim Burgess and Adam Ruzek finally said I do. After seasons of near misses, heartbreak, and finding their way back to each other time and again, the ceremony was understated but packed with emotion. While the big moments, like Kim's walk down the aisle and Ruzek's teary vows, had us reaching for tissues, some of the most touching details were hidden in the quiet corners of the scene. Let's break down 6 sweet little moments from Burgess and Ruzek's wedding you may have missed. 1. Michaela's bracelet had special meaning. Michaela didn't just look adorable in her flower girl dress. She was also carrying a piece of family history on her wrist. The delicate silver bracelet she wore belonged to Kim's late sister, a detail mentioned briefly in Season 8 during Kim's emotional custody battle. The show never drew attention to the bracelet during the ceremony, but eagle-eyed fans spotted it during a close-up of Michaela clutching Kim's hand before the ceremony. It was a quiet tribute to Burgess's journey to motherhood and how she's built a family with Ruzek and Michaela against all odds. 2. Ruzek's vows nodded to their first case together. When Adam Ruzek started his vows, there was a line that felt familiar. You always saw through the chaos. For longtime fans, this was a callback to their first case together, where Kim stood by Adam during an intense undercover operation. Back then, their chemistry was electric but undefined, a connection still forming. That line in his vows wasn't just romantic. It was a promise that, even now, years later, she's still the person who centers him. Ruzek has always been the more impulsive of the two, but with Burgess he finds grounding, and his vows were a beautiful echo of that dynamic. 3. The song playing during the ceremony was the same one from Season 2. Did the music sound familiar? That's because the soft instrumental version of Turning Page by Sleeping at Last, playing as Burgess walked down the aisle, was also used during their first kiss back in Season 2. The song had been slowed down and rearranged with strings, making it feel new but hauntingly familiar. It's the kind of subtle emotional layering that Chicago PD doesn't always get credit for, but here it worked beautifully. It connected their beginning with their present, a full-circle moment that gave longtime fans chills. 4. Voight gave Ruzek a quiet nod, and it meant everything. In typical Hank Voight fashion, there were no grand speeches. But as the couple walked back up the aisle as husband and wife, Voight stood to the side, arms crossed, giving Ruzek a subtle nod of approval. It was brief, but loaded with meaning. Voight has seen the worst of his officers' personal lives: loss, trauma, betrayal. For him, giving his blessing is rare and understated. That nod was more than a boss congratulating his detective. It was a father figure saying, "You did good, kid." And in Ruzek's world, that means everything. 5. The bouquet was made with flowers from Kim's childhood garden. Kim's bouquet wasn't just pretty, it was deeply personal. The white peonies and lavender sprigs were chosen to honor her mother, who used to grow the same varieties in their backyard. In a scene cut from the final episode, but referenced in post-show interviews, Kim told Trudy Platt that she wanted to carry a piece of home with her. The show's wardrobe and props departments went the extra mile to create a bouquet with those exact flowers. For viewers, it was a blink and you'll miss it detail. But for Kim, it was a symbolic reminder that even as she starts this new chapter, her roots are still with her.